As we mentioned, the tech sector turning positive for the year, but the chart master says the big tech rally is about to fizzle out. So let's get to Cornerstone Macro's Carter Worth with more on this. What are you seeing, Carter?
Well, what we know is that just at the peak on Feb 19th, the problem was that the market was stretched. A few names doing all of the lifting as big names like Ford, Exxon, DuPont making 5-year lows. Well, here we are after the crash and the ricochet, and the structure is just as bad. Tim was just talking about the breadth. I have 4 slides. Let's just look at them quickly. The first is just to put the stats on. We know there's 71 stocks in the S&P 500. Technology sector, we know it's $6.3 trillion, and you can see there 26% weight. In fact, if you put Amazon and Google back, it's 30, and there is a history where you get as high as 30. Any sector typically is at or near a peak. Take a look at the second slide. Now, what we do know, of course, is it's not always, it's where you start the meter, where your storyline starts. What we know is that from the peak, it was March 24th, it was a Friday, 2000, the dot-com peak, tech is still behind the S&P. So just on a price percentage change, the S&P is up 88% versus tech only up 66. And on a total return, of course, it's much worse. Look at the second column, S&P up 178 versus the tech sector only 98. Anyway, let's look at the charts right now. So the first chart is a 2-panel, and it is the tech sector. And we see the sell-off, of course, and you see the ricochet. The important thing is the relative performance. It was outperforming on the way down, and it's outperforming on the way up. It's making new relative highs to the S&P. That's part of the problem. We're so dependent on just these handful of names as banks and industrials and other things get worse. And so the final chart is the XLK itself, the ETF. And I would just, for fun, ask you individually, each of you, do you think this goes back and makes a high in 2020? It would take a 10.5% gain from here to recoup all of its losses and make an all-time high.
That's a question, Carter?
If you're ready for an answer, I'm ready. I'm ready.
What is it?
Oh, I was going to ask you first, and then I'll go. I'll give you mine first. The answer is no. I do not think it will go back to those highs this year. And that's based on, but I'd love to hear what the desk thinks on
Absolutely. I'm agnostic. I don't harbor an opinion on where stocks go. But our traders do, of course. So I'll go to Grasso on this. What do you say?
So in the XLK specifically, Microsoft and Apple are 42%. They make up 42% of the XLK. Those are 2 names that have performed pretty darn well during the whole Corona stint. And I think on the services side and on the Microsoft Cloud side, I think that they have the ability to perform even better going forward. So I'm going to push up against Carter. I agree with him on his XLF analysis, but I think the XLK can go higher from here. So I'll take the over.
All right. And Pete, your thoughts?
Nope.
Pete?
I take the over as well. I look at it, Mel, and I see some really productive names that absolutely can continue to produce. And because of that, I do think the XLK can actually establish some new highs. And I think it's going to broaden out a little bit more. The one thing I sit here listening so far to a lot of the commentary, that especially coming from Carter just now, I see so much more of a broad move, Mel, than everybody else seems to see. I understand there's 5 or 6 stocks that are powering things, but Home Depot in the last month is up 25%. Chevron's made a $15 move off of lows. These aren't the absolute lows. I'm just talking about in the last month. We're seeing participation targets up more than 25%. I see a lot of these various chip stocks. You go through NXPI and Micron and AMD, and you go down the list of all the chip stocks we know, Qorvo, and suddenly you start to see a lot of different names that are up 20, 25, 30%. So there's been participation, but clearly it's the mega caps that are moving everything. But that doesn't mean there aren't other areas of the marketplace that are actually starting to pick up a little bit. So I understand the arguments about what we're talking about here, but I think the reality is this is broader than just the first major 5 stocks that are moving this market.
All right. Carter, you got your answer.